I miss when people used to show up on the live stream every so often.
It could happen again someday.
Well, as far as I can tell, there may be a viewer. Don't know.
Or what?
It says concurrent viewers 1.
That may be you.
No, I'm not viewing.
Oh. Maybe everybody, or it's always one. Maybe one is the minimal.
No, sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 0. So there's one person who may or may not be lurking and listening right now to everything we're saying.
Oh.
Okay. Shall we get started?
Yep.
Ooh, exciting. This is the Techno Buffet podcast, episode number 629, recorded Thursday, May 18th, 2023, in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Techno Buffet podcast. Now with 3% more Jerry.
Really?
No?
Oh.
There isn't 3% more Jerry?
I don't know.
1% more Jerry? How much more Jerry do you bring to the table today?
Don't know.
Okay.
I hope to bring less Jerry to the table.
Why is that?
Lose weight would be good.
Yeah, but that's a different Jerry metric.
Oh.
This is the measure of Jerryness in the podcast, not the measure of how much Jerry occupies space.
Oh, is there a difference?
Are you telling me that if there was less of... If you occupied less space, then you would bring less Jerry to the podcast?
I hope so.
Well, this is an audio podcast, so I'm referring to your audio presence.
I are here. Audio presence, yes.
Yes. But it's been another week. Some stuff happened. I did some things. Got a new phone. It's all Google's fault. I think it was a conspiracy.
Oh.
Yep. So it starts out with this story that actually is in the show notes, which is Pixel battery life issues for the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 7. So all of a sudden the other day, my phone started getting very hot and the battery was draining. And that usually means the phone is dying.
Right.
Because that's what usually happens. And I said, okay, it's only been a year. So I decided to take advantage of a Google Fi offer where if I agree to stay with Google Fi, so essentially this is where Google created a conspiracy in order to keep me in there with their mobile provider. That if I went and got a Pixel 7, not the 7a, and kept it for my service with Google Fi for 2 years, that they would pay for the phone.
Sorry, I was slow on the mute button.
You with me so far?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I decided, okay, I will get a 7, even though the 7 is sort of an incremental improvement over the 6, because that'll last me, hopefully, a little longer. They'll pay the phone in its entirety, even though I haven't finished. So essentially, they're going to pay off the 7, but I still haven't finished paying off the 6.
Does that mean you're going to have to pay more for your 7 because you also need to take up for the...
Well, they're going to pay 100% of the 7 if I keep my contract for 2 more years.
Oh.
So for every month that I keep it, they're going to give me a bill credit for the amount. and they're giving me I have to but to do that I have to trade the 6 in, and I really think that they're so I owe more on the 6 than they're giving me on trade-in value. You know, it's sort
That
of
doesn't sound fun.
well, it's sort of nice to know that a phone that you paid a certain amount of money for a year ago has depreciated to the point at which that has happened. So I got the phone a year ago, which means I paid 50% of the phone off. Yet the trade-in value of the phone is less than the remaining balance. So my phone, according to Google, has depreciated by more than half in a year.
Sure, I'll buy that.
Okay, well, they do say that that like the car decreases in value the day you drive it off the lot. So last night the Pixel 7 arrived, which is roughly equivalent to the Pixel 6, except for some minor improvements. And it's sitting here. So now I have, for better or worse, I now have a Pixel 7, and I have to wait for the box to return the Pixel 6. In the meantime, Google announced that they were the ones killing my battery and fixed it.
That's cool.
Yeah. By the way, they also cost me some money on because the runaway battery thing was also using data.
Oh,
Yeah. So probably about $10 more in data since I'm on the metered Google Fi plan. So now I have a 7. So I'm still in the process of reconfiguring everything.
right.
But you sort of look at all of these reviews for the 7 versus the 6, and it's okay. The 7 is 0.1 inches smaller in terms of the display. It has a better processor, but basically the camera is the same. The storage is the same. The RAM is the same. Apparently, the digital zoom is better, and the weight is slightly lighter. So, not a significant difference. Also, the screen is supposed to be slightly better. But we'll see.
Well, good luck, man.
I don't know. I was going to wait for the 8. Although there is one other story, which is also in the show notes since I'm on this subject. Let's see, it's in here. Here we are. Google Pixel owners are seemingly more likely to switch brands, and it's not hard to see why. So this is a 9 to 5 Google story that quotes a new report that Pixel owners are the most likely to consider switching to other brands on their next upgrade.
Really.
Yes.
And sure, I get it.
So apparently, if you've bought a Google phone, you are 57%. They're saying said that they were very likely to switch to another phone after they upgraded. That compares to 34% of Samsung or Apple. In terms of people who said that that was very unlikely, only 26% of people who were surveyed said that they were unlikely to switch to another phone. It was going to be very unlikely. And I'm saying that I don't know what to do as someone who has had, the 3 out of my Pixel phones have a bulging battery.
Right.
It's been 3. So I don't know anymore. Maybe I am going to be the type of person who replaces his phone once a year instead of once every 18 to 24 months. We'll see. Maybe I'll be constantly having to keep with Google Fi because I owe them money and don't want to spend the money to get out of it. Other than that, I didn't accomplish as much as I wanted to this week. I'm still dealing with some various chore type things. But I did double the RAM in my computer. So that's something.
All right.
Well, it's amazing how you make these decisions. Someone's telling you, I'm thinking of buying a new computer. How much RAM do you need? Oh yeah, I probably should buy some more RAM for myself too. And again, various maintenance issues. I did install that smart switch I think I mentioned that was coming,
Right.
and the new light. So that's not that exciting. That I live in a one-bedroom apartment. There aren't that many light switches. That is the last light switch that controls a light that was not controlled by a smart switch. So I'm my apartment is 100% smart light,
Cool.
unless you count. I do have a desk lamp that isn't technically smart, but that's not really a light switch. Anyway, progress. So a few other interesting things that have happened over the course of the week. Not exactly as gigantic as Google I/O, though we're going to touch on that a bit. Nova Launcher, which has
Yeah,
been very.
Nova Launcher, which is still a thing.
Why not? I'm not going to things. I'll honestly say, when my father ended up getting a Samsung phone instead of his previous Motorola, I used a third-party launcher to hide the what I seriously disliked of the Samsung launcher. Admittedly, I'm projecting my opinion on my father, but he doesn't know any better, so why not?
Well, okay, so there's nothing against Nova Launcher. However,
Yep.
I believe that when Android and iPhone were new,
Yep.
well, maybe not iPhone, but when Android was new, there were a lot of apps which specifically dealt with, let's call them deficiencies in the operating system.
Yeah.
And as the operating system matured, there seems to be less and less need for those things. Well, the launcher seems like one of those things which has matured pretty well. And I mean, so if Nova Launcher is doing well enough to stay in business, I love it. Rock on, man. You're
Yeah.
doing great.
And what I've installed on a lot of things that, other than that, because I have a Nova Launcher premium that I paid for years ago, and I don't think that's relevant anymore. But I've also used, if you remember, Lawn Chair Launcher, which is an open source version of the Pixel Launcher, which I like, and I put that on devices. So, but apparently, back to what actually happened, the community director announced their first State of Nova event, where they can ask Nova developers about things. So this is essentially like a ask me anything type thing. It'll be a Discord event for members of their server on June 3rd. Apparently, you can fill out a Google form to ask questions, and certain questions will be off limits for obvious reasons. There are some things that they won't answer. But again, it's interesting to think that, again, they're just putting together an event where they're going to say, you're a user of this product, you want to come and talk to us and ask some questions, we're going to do that.
Which is nice.
Yeah, and there are a lot of communities that do this. Not just Nova Launcher, which is this, but I know that, for example, I tune in every so often to the quarterly State of the Bird, which is the update on the status of Pigeon. You remember Pigeon?
Yes.
Okay. It still has a status.
All-in-one chat program.
Yes. And I still like Pigeon.
I bet.
So every quarter I listen for a few minutes about how they're infinitely closer to Pigeon 3. But it seems like, you know how that, there's that math thing that if every minute you have the distance between your goal and your current location, then you will become infinitely close to your final destination, but you'll never get there.
Right.
That's what it feels like. I know it's not exactly true, but that's what it feels like sometimes with those. There's just so much to do because Pigeon is based on such an old code base, and they're trying to move it to a more modern one, that it's going to take them a while. Although they say they are getting, again, infinitely closer. So back to Nova Launcher, with the slight pigeon tangent. If anybody's interested, again, tune in on June 3rd. I'm not sure I'm going to, but Google apparently has decided that they will soon let Pixel phones double as dash cams. So the idea is you could have your phone in a mount and have it work as a dash cam while you're driving. Is that
Uh, I like it. I think it's good. It's
yeah?
excellent. It's a great camera. Why not use it?
Well, again, it's just a matter of where do you put your phone. Because dash cams, if you've noticed, are usually mounted up by the rear view mirror.
Right.
So I'm not sure I want to put my phone up by the rear view mirror, but other than that, I think it is a good idea.
Excellent.
Okay, moving on to Android TV. So apparently, Android TV has been rolling out the Live tab. So this is Live TV, where Android TV is essentially getting the equivalent of live channels. And you see this a lot, where essentially the various Roku does the same thing. It has a Roku channel, and it has like a guide that looks like a traditional television guide. But everything it's doing is just finding live video streams. For example, if you want the like all Star Trek all the time channel,
Oh,
it
there's one of those.
yeah,
Cool.
I think it's on. Was it on? I think it's on Pluto TV that they're doing like it's random Star Trek, but
I think the Pluto has several.
yeah,
Uh, they're like binge channels.
yeah. Well, it's nice sometimes. Admittedly, that's not necessarily my sort of thing. I occasionally binge stuff, but I like to vary. So even when I'm picking the content, I tend to watch different things because I don't always want to watch the same thing. Although occasionally I have watched 3 or 4 episodes of something in a row. But it's nice that they've recognized that despite the fact that people are sort of not interested in cable anymore, the idea of essentially a live stream that's showing different things is a great discovery tool for, as opposed to traditional streaming, if you can call it traditional, where you're essentially deciding what to watch and you have like 600 choices and you can't make a decision. Whereas if you watch this random channel, you might, what's the term? Serendipity, I think is the term people use for that,
Right.
where you might discover something. Anyway, moving along, 1Password is rolling out passkey management. So if you're a user of 1Password, you can try out integrated passkeys. I have not yet used passkeys.
I have not either.
Yeah. And then I also added in this really geeky Google story how we used plus codes to create over 14,000 addresses in a Brazilian, and I still don't know how to pronounce that word. Is it favela?
Favela. I don't know.
I don't know. I've never been to Brazil. Uh, Again, I'm judging by context that that would be some form of neighborhood. Because I'm a little confused on my Brazilian geopolitical divisions. But the idea is that apparently they have a problem where they don't have useful addresses.
Right.
So companies couldn't deliver goods in some of these areas because it's hard to find places, and any delivery would require walking the last mile through alleys, unable to do things. One person couldn't enroll their child in school because they didn't have an official address. Ambulance couldn't find homes. They couldn't get medicine delivered. So Google has plus codes, which remember are longitude and latitude based. So they essentially created plus codes for these various things, and they got a delivery company in Brazil to print address boards with different plus codes and attach them to physical locations.
Hmm.
So again, they essentially gave a community addresses. By the way, according to the dictionary, it is.
Favela.
I just looked it up.
Cool.
Favela, a Brazilian shack or shanty town, a slum.
Interesting that they're doing this instead of the. Are you familiar with the what three words?
Yeah, but Google is a plus code thing. I'm familiar with what three words. Anyway, so that's another one of those interesting ideas. I actually like plus codes.
Why?
I think they're a
How
clever
do I
idea.
find my plus code?
What?
How do I find my plus code?
You should be able to. Essentially, it divides the entire world into grids based on longitude and latitude. So you can locate any spot with just a few numbers and letters. So you should be able to go even on Google Maps and look it up.
Yep.
So, for example, I'm not going to give my address or your address, but let's say that I picked a famous New York landmark, right?
Right.
So I'm going to pick, let's say, Pennsylvania Station. I should be able to use Google Maps to find out the plus code of Pennsylvania Station, at least in theory. So where's my plus code?
When I looked up the address, it was in the sidebar.
Yeah. Except here, because this is a... Usually I see it. Maybe it's such a big location that they're having trouble with it. Oh, well, I'll figure it out. I know I used to see them on Google Maps. Oh, there it is. The Moynihan Train Hall has it. Apparently, Penn Station itself is not displaying one. But if I pick the Moynihan Train Hall, which is the newest add-on to Penn Station, that would be Q223 plus MP.
Oh.
Because why not? So you're going to put a plus code on your house?
No.
Why not? How would people find you otherwise?
I don't know. I mean, because if the plus code is just it's a encoded lat long, then I
Yeah.
don't see the benefit of. I mean, if you're trying to send somebody somewhere, then it's easier to read than a lat long. But like putting it on a physical place,
Well, that's how you know you're there. So the purpose of the sign would be, oh, you have reached this that long. But that would suggest people are coming to see me.
ah,
Well, that happened. It was this interesting coincidence. So my oldest friend, in the sense that this is the person I've been friendly with and kept in contact with the longest, popped up last week and said, I'd like to stop by this weekend. I'm going to be in the neighborhood. So, knowing him as long as I had, I said that's fine and didn't expect him to show up, and he lived up to my expectations. But he would have been able to find my house with a plus code.
yes, I think you could find any place with a plus code because just a fancy way of making lat long.
Yeah, by the way, somebody was listening because there was a hello or rather a
Ooh.
howdy in the live stream chat.
Crazy talk.
But that person's left now. Anyway, moving along, Google Contacts for Android is apparently rolling out those birthday notifications we've been talking about.
Right.
So soon I'll be able to know when it's someone's birthday. I'm trying to remember if I put your birthday on my calendar.
I don't know. Do you even know my birthday?
I'm sure you've mentioned it.
Oh.
What month is your birthday in?
3 months ago.
Okay. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
I might have wished you a happy birthday. I think we've had this. I'm almost positive we've had this conversation before. I know you have memory problems with certain things.
Do.
I admit that there are certain things that I always forget about, and remembering people's birthdays happens to be one of them, which is why I put them on a calendar. And associating names and faces are one that I always had a weakness with. It takes me a while when I meet new people to associate their name and their face. Moving along, Android Police put out an editorial saying that based on what happened at Google I/O this year, Google still doesn't understand hardware.
which is funny.
Yeah, and their opinion is that their hardware lineup is so close to greatness, but not there. Which I thought was an interesting comment. Specifically,
Yep.
that the 7A turns the 7 into an awkward middle child.
Huh.
And the truth is, it's pretty much the same phone as the 7, except with a plastic shell. It's almost identical, but there's a price cut. So, why is it that they didn't do something that was more budget, and why didn't they differentiate between the 7 and the 7A? Maybe next time they don't do an A model. It may be that the budget version's gone. Then, of course, you have the Pixel tablet, which they weren't impressed with, and neither was I.
Sad.
Well, no, the thing is, it's a nice looking tablet, but it was an opportunity also to get into something to replace the Nest Hub. Except even Google is saying, no, we weren't trying to replace the Nest Hub. But
But
it's been a while since they released anything in that area.
of course, it was a replacement for the hub.
But they have said they keep missing opportunities. Because either they're going to continue the hubs, and they should refresh the Hub Max and the Hub 2, which are the current models. Do you realize that the Nest Hub Max, which is currently the only hub that they have with a camera, was released in 2019 and has not been refreshed since? I'm not talking about major features, I'm talking about just a refresh of the line. That's a long time to keep one product out of this type.
Yep.
Yeah. And anyway, moving with Android Police, they commented the dock is a phone-sized paperweight without a Pixel tablet attached to it. So I was listening to, I forget who commented on this. I think it was Kevin Toffel who commented that he's the guy who does About Chromebooks and a few other things.
Right.
Commented that why can't the dock be a Nest speaker when nothing's connected to it? So if you had a Nest speaker that was speaker only and then when you put the tablet on it, it connected, it used the speakers, but now it turned it into a display, would that be a better product?
I believe so.
But they didn't do that, did they? So it's essentially a brick without anything attached to it. It does nothing. It is useless.
That's silly.
Yeah. So again, they're close. It is not that they don't make nice products. It's just they're a little off. And then, of course, there's the Pixel Fold, which looks very nice, except I don't know what percentage of people are going to buy an $800 folding phone. I'm not saying there aren't other, like the Samsung products and the other ones that are folding, but it's sort of do they understand their market? I don't think
Yeah.
their market are necessarily the bottom end. I think if they were smart, they would have a inexpensive product, so more of a budget model, which they were doing with the A's until recently. A premium product. Maybe if you want to stretch an ultra premium product, but I thought they were doing too well enough with the sort of tick-tock cycle of alternating between the budget model and the regular model. But I don't know the financials. So continuing to Google I/O, Google itself put out a post, 100 things we announced at I/O 2023. So this is their version of it. So here are the 100 things, very quickly. They introduced the Pixel Fold. By the way, despite the fact they said 100 things, the Pixel Fold took up 3. Then the Pixel 7a, again, seems to have taken up another 3. So I find this misleading on the 100 here. Because if you announce 3 things about the same thing, is that 3 unique things? Because, by the way, the tablet took up 6. So the Pixel tablet has all that. The Pixel tablet is the first tablet with Chromecast built in. Why do I need Chromecast built into my tablet so it can be a target? That's doesn't seem to be admittedly that wonderful, but okay, fine. So moving along, here's 16 is that you can buy the 7A and pre-order the tablet and the Fold today. Well, today being the day they wrote this. So they seem to have trouble figuring out what a number is on 100 things we announced. They're counting every single promotion that they offered as a new thing.
Every piece of information is an announcement.
Yeah, I know. I just usually don't think of it that way. I think they were stretching to get to the 100. So
Hmm.
under search, they announced Search Labs, which is a new way to sign up to test products that they're exploring. So it's essentially a beta labs feature if you want to play with their search products. That includes all of their AI stuff like AI powered snapshots of important information, generative AI in search, etc. So I haven't played with that yet, but maybe I will sign up for the labs. Then in Workspace, again, more AI. So it's, again, as I said before, lots of AI. And then the next section of their 100 is AI at home and on the road, because you have the immersive view, which must apparently be an AI thing also.
I'm sure it is.
You can essentially magic editor, and I think I mentioned this one, where you could reimagine different aspects of your photo. So that's where you could decide, oh, it was a cloudy day. I'm going to make it a bright, sunny day. So I'm going to edit history. Or I can reposition the subject of a shot. So I can move a person in a picture away so that I can get an angle that didn't actually happen.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Then, of course, there's their next generation language model and Bard, which is their sort of chat GPT style interface. Over on Android, again, Magic Compose, otherwise known as More AI. Emoji wallpaper and cinematic wallpaper. So cinematic wallpaper uses, again, back to machine learning, to turn your photos into 3D images that come to life as you tilt and unlock your device. So that one I'm not necessarily against. Okay, they're going to make animate photos a bit. But they also, here's a cute one, generative AI wallpaper. So if you want a wallpaper, their text to image system will, you tell it what type of wallpaper you want, and it will generate a unique wallpaper for you.
That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's interesting. Anyway, moving along, they are, here's one, I think this was also mentioned. They're working with partners, WebEx, Teams, and Zoom, to help you take scheduled meetings by audio from your car display. So essentially, you'll be able to connect to a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting or a WebEx meeting, audio only while you're driving.
Well, that's good.
Have you ever done that?
I have.
Okay, so having an interface for that would be good, right?
Sure.
Because I remember a few months ago, I happened to be in a car with my brother, and it was his turn to drive, and then he remembered he had a meeting. So he asked me to get out his phone and essentially open up his email and open up a Zoom so he could have this conference call. And his phone was paired to the car's Android Auto. He wouldn't have had to do any of that. It would have just been up on the screen. So I could see the advantage. Admittedly, I hate taking meetings in cars, but there are times when it's necessary. Android 14 will bring support for 10-bit Ultra HDR images. And yeah,
Ooh.
under security, they introduced a safe browsing API, spam protections in Google Drive, dark web report. So that would be so you can see if anybody with a Gmail address in the U.S. if their address appears on the dark web. More permission screens that allow you to make decisions about what your data is being used for. And they're working on tools to detect synthetic audio, so I assume that would be to detect that the communication you're having is artificial, which is interesting. So Google creates Duplex, which allows their system to call people and ask for information and make reservations. And then they create a tool to allow you to detect whether or not somebody is using that tool on you. I thought that was interesting.
Yes,
Okay. Now you're just silent for a moment.
I am.
Yeah, so then there's a whole bunch of Google Cloud stuff.
Lots of Google Cloud stuff.
Yeah. So it's just interesting. And I still feel it wasn't quite 100. Now, they did do some updates to the Google Home app to allow people to access and control things in their home more easily. So the new app has a 5-tab layout, including a favorites tab where you can pin your most used devices, actions, and automations.
Which is super cool and
Yeah.
useful.
Easier ways to view your cameras. Well, not my cameras, but your cameras, if they happen to be Nest cameras. They are claiming to be working more on Matter support, but Matter is still in its infancy, so for me, it doesn't yet matter. And again, they're adding more capabilities to the Google Home app for Wear OS. Because, as always, what I really want to do is try to turn on my devices using my watch through a scrolling process. I want my watch to be able to have like the favorites thing that they're talking about, but I don't think I want to go through the whole interface.
I wish, yes, but I wish that would happen for Home Assistant as well. Instead of just having access to scenes, we actually, have like favorite.
Yeah, and they sort of do on Wear OS. The Wear OS app isn't bad. But apparently I need to work on my smart home and my Home Assistant installation because I got a panicked phone call today. My parents are still in town and they happened to be in my apartment today while I wasn't there and set off the alarm. And they're the ones I put a keypad in for because they can't seem to remember that I programmed their phones to turn off the alarm. Should they stop by?
It's funny.
Yeah. They called me because they couldn't remember the 4-digit code. Honestly, I'm going to have to write it on something in the room, which sort of defeats the security purpose. Anyway, moving along. They have this new interface for essentially the Pixel tablet when it's in hub mode, which is where it's connected to that useless thing where you get essentially a home panel, but apparently you can't get the home panel in very many other easy ways. So, and a few other things. I mentioned the generative AI wallpapers, but moving on to another announcement from I/O about how Google's improving your drive. So we already covered the join meetings, but there were a few others. Apparently now they're bringing Waze to more cars so you can find electric vehicle stations.
Which is a good thing.
Well, if you have an electric vehicle, your range isn't necessarily as big as anything else, and you don't. What if you ended up in an electric recharging desert?
Yes, because there are a lot more gas stations than there are
Yeah.
superchargers.
Well, I think there are efforts to fix that. I think the people who manufacture electric vehicles realize that it's really hard to find a place to charge your vehicle, it's a problem. So I know there's some effort going on in there, but for me, the calculus, if I ever bought an electric vehicle, would be that Most of the places that I'd want to go and come back from be places that I could do within the range of the vehicle.
Right.
Now, you like have a vehicle where you like to take big adventures. In fact, I gathered that since you got the vehicle, you've been thinking of big adventure type places to go so you can maximize your usage. Didn't you take
Well,
some long road trips?
oh yeah, it's been pretty far. It's been halfway across the country and back, up and sideways.
Yeah, but I'm saying for me, I'd be perfectly fine with a vehicle that could take me, to and from things, let's say within, let's say an hour each way, give or take.
Sure.
And then if I really want to take a road trip,
Wait,
I
state
could.
New York is like what, 3 miles?
I was assuming a non-traffic rate of speed, but okay.
Okay, so
Well,
30
again, you're
miles.
you're thinking of Manhattan. I rarely go into Manhattan. When I
Okay,
was wasn't 2 months ago when I was in Jersey City for something, I had to drive through Manhattan to get there, and that was the first time I've driven Manhattan in a long time, and I hate going there for driving because it is a pain, but I don't go in that direction very much.
I understand.
Yep. So let's imagine where you're going between 30 and 60 miles per hour on average. Either traditional city driving where there's some stop and go, or like highway driving without that much traffic. So I'd be fine with like a commuting vehicle, and then okay, fine. Once in a while, maybe I need to take a long trip. I'd rather just rent a car for that and have the vehicle that I'm using locally be more, let's say, efficient in that area. I'm assuming there are enough electric charging stations somewhere on this island, or at least if I'm only going places that I can go to and from my home within the range of the automobile, that I have a charger at home. But again, right now, not my price range. Anyway, moving along. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, yes. One final story. The Nexus 7 was Google's only great tablet and has never tried to replace it. So this is an opinion piece from Ars Technica. I was enjoying sort of the little tiny subtitle, Old Man Yells at Tablet.
It
I thought it was cute.
is funny.
But I liked the Nexus 7 and I wish they'd iterated on that. The Nexus 7 was the sort of tablet that you could sort of keep by the couch. It was inexpensive. It was decent for the time. And again, had they kept, like a 7 or 8 inch tablet at a reasonable price and kept iterating on it, I honestly think that they would have had a market for it.
Sure. Now though, phones are that big, almost.
Yeah, but again, I like having something by the couch that I can leave there. And remember, we're talking about that idea of replacing the Nest Hub. So instead of the Pixel tablet, which is a much more expensive device, if you had a device where it was, let's say, a 7 inch or an 8 inch screen that you can keep by your couch that mostly was connected, but you could pull off and do things with and then put back, I think that's a much more compelling thing. Maybe that'll be the Pixel Tablet A. Well, they need an A series. Because again, I can't justify a $500 tablet that I'm using as a display. I might as well just buy some more Nest Hubs and spread them around. Or wait until my 10-inch Lenovo Smart Display finally dies, since Google isn't supporting it anymore. But again, I love the Nexus 7 until it stopped working. And if you read some of the comments on the Ars Technica story, it was, this was my favorite device. Small enough and light enough to sit back and read while holding it in one hand, big enough to read. Amazon Fire devices in the 7 to 8 inch range are all garbage by comparison.
Really?
I'm reading comments. I'm not expressing an opinion. A successor to the Nexus 7 is the exact thing that would get me to try out an Android tablet on a whim. Pure Android experience in a small package with good value for money. Google and the Android ecosystem still refuse to answer that call. I've owned half a dozen Android tablets, and the Nexus 7 was my hands down favorite. So I think there is a model for something that's a little more expensive than a cheap Fire tablet, but is a well designed budget thing that is less than $500. And that again has a little dock so you can put it there and use it as a photo frame. Anyway, once again, it's a dream.
It's a nice dream.
You know, the impossible dream. Anyway, so are you planning any home projects over the course of the next week?
No. Right now, I'm hoping to make it through the weekend.
Me too. I have this one project that I want to do that I've been ever since I had that work done in my kitchen. I still have like a pile of stuff that I like pulled out and stacked up in various places that I'd like to put back so I can walk without tripping over things, and maybe I could find a nice place to put my 3D printer.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to stuff everything back in the kitchen. I've been sort of, slowly moving things in there, like buying one organizational tool at a time.
Yes.
But I still have this large space that I haven't figured out how to organize because the gentleman who replaced the broken cabinets had an interesting idea of space usage. And some of the cabinets don't make sense to me. They look good in the design, but I assumed he knew what he was doing.
Sometimes that's assuming too much.
Yeah, well, so he did some things where the cabinet configuration is a bit awkward. So there are some cabinets where there are too many shelves. There are other cabinets where there are too few shelves, and therefore you end up with a cabinet where there's just too much space, and you'd like to subdivide it, but there aren't any holes to put in a shelf, even if you bought one and you don't want to drill one. I'll figure something out. I've been buying home organizational dividers slowly to sort of split up some cabinets that were not properly divided. But that's taken up a little time, and I've gotten to the point where I can walk from one side of my living room to the other, which is progress. But still have too many things piled up. I'll get there. Then I can relax and work on my next home automation project, because I decided to do that Home Assistant project with the phone that they advertised as part of the Year of the Voice.
Yeah.
So I got myself a red phone.
Like, it's the color red.
Well, you remember how in like the old movies, like the president would pick up the red phone and talk to the Soviet Union?
Oh, yes, yes.
I got one of those.
To talk to your home assistant?
I figured why not.
Sure.
I'm still waiting. What I really want is the VoIP integration for Home Assistant. And I think I saw a few other people commenting on this. Since you're integrating it in, when you pick up the phone, it should allow you to talk to your Home Assistant. But I want it to be turned on as a notification option. So I want Home Assistant as a notification option to be able to ring the phone, and then when I answer the phone, for it to play me a message as a notification. Wouldn't that be interesting?
It would.
I could think of a lot of fun things to do with that. Until then, I just want to pick up the phone and give my assistant instructions. Just like, again, classic movie. Because
Yep,
why not?
that'd be cool.
Well, I'm prepared. This is one of those phones. Not only is it red, but it has like the light on it. So if you turn off the ringer, there's like a flashing light when it rings. Anyway,
That would be nice. And maybe it blinks if there's like a notification you need to hear.
because why not?
Yep.
I think Home Assistant will get there. If not, I'm going to have to figure out how to do that one myself. Anyway, so I'll also keep you posted on the one thing I have not done with the Pixel 7 since I got it yesterday and started, moving all my stuff over and reconfiguring it to work the way I want it, which you have to do every time you get a new phone.
Right.
The one thing I have not done is taken a picture with it because I haven't had anything to take a picture of. So maybe
Oh,
this weekend I'll see how the camera works. Because again, I hear there are some improvements.
ooh, oh, gosh, is it so late already?
It's 8:53 local time as we're recording this. I'm sorry I'm not entertaining enough for you, Terry.
No, it's not that. I'm just tired,
Yeah,
man.
me too. I am glad that tomorrow is the last day of my work week. Hopefully I can relax a little on the weekend, and next week is another week
Yeah,
where hopefully different things will happen than happened this week or last week. Like you sometimes do, I've been showing up at times of night I'm not supposed to be working and working.
right.
I'm hoping I don't do that next week. There's just
Me
too
too.
much to do that needed to be done immediately. Anyway, so until next time, which I believe. Oh, I almost forgot. Next week I cannot record on Thursday because Thursday night happens to be a holiday.
Okay,
So, would an alternate night be possible?
sure.
Would Wednesday night work for you?
It would.
At this time or slightly earlier?
This time works.
Okay, so next Wednesday.
I need to change my alarm, or I'm going to forget. Let's change this to every Wednesday.
Okay,
All right.
so until then, if there's a
Until
problem,
then,
I will advise you. But other than that, it's not one of those exciting, quote unquote sexy holidays, but it is a holiday.
there are sexy holidays.
I don't know what constitutes a holiday that everybody really, talks about. When you
St.
think
Patrick's
holiday,
Day.
what holiday do you think of?
St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, so maybe that's a sexy holiday.
4th of July. Lots of explosions.
Okay, I'm just saying this is a much more low key thing. Do you know what one of the traditional things we do on this holiday is?
Negative.
We eat dairy products.
That's interesting.
Well, it's sort of a switch because on most holidays you have a festive meal, which is usually meat. This is a holiday where you have a festive meal, which is often dairy.
Ah, okay.
Different. There's some other stuff too, but yeah, I thought that was an interesting factoid.
It is.
Okay, that reminds me, I have to plan my dairy menu. Also, I'm running low on my 5 gallon bag and box of syrup. Gonna have to order another one of those.
You're what?
I mentioned this that I make my own soda,
Oh, yes.
but my box is running low, and since the last time I ordered, the company is now charging $16 for shipping, where they previously didn't charge anything. So this is throwing off my financial calculations. $16 isn't a lot, but it's making me think whether or not I should find a different vendor or consider an alternative product. I'm thinking of spending even more money to try another product that I've considered trying where it has, by my estimate, what is it, 4 times the amount of caffeine per serving than traditional soda.
Is caffeine important to you?
Some days.
Ah,
I don't
fair
drink
enough.
coffee. Do you drink coffee, Jerry?
I do not.
Okay. I need to get my caffeine somewhere.
Yep.
But I'm interested in the idea of a 100 grams of caffeine per serving. I'm wondering if it's worth it. So I was trying to decide, do I want to experiment with 5 gallons of this more caffeinated diet beverage, or should I just find an actual premixed bottle of this stuff and try it? A search to figure this out took me to the manufacturer's website where they have like the vendor locator. And clearly they're not updating their vendor locator because half the ones that were within range of me no longer exist. So I don't know if I'm going. So is it worth gambling on 5 gallons of cola syrup?
I don't know if they're like if their vendors are going out of business, you're probably going to need to find a new version.
Well, no. I was finding it at stores that sold craft beer, and so I guess a lot of those probably went out of business in the last couple of years. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll try it once, and then I'll waste $80 on 5 gallons and never buy it again.
Right? You see how it goes.
Hmm. If I could find a place that sold a single bottle for me to try. I think I had it years ago. Have you ever had Diet King Cola from the Boylan Bottling Company?
I have not.
Okay. Go. If there is a place in Jacksonville that sells this, would you go and drink some and give me your opinion?
Maybe.
Okay. So let's see. Uh, Jacksonville, Florida.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Do you know where assuming it's still open, the Casa Dora Italian Cafe is? Or the Black Sheep Restaurant, or the Bold City Brewery Limited Liability Corporation, or Cafe Frida?
Look for something further east than the Casadora, the other side of the river.
The other side of the river?
Yeah.
So
There's a
you do.
river that goes to the middle of Jacksonville.
I'm just saying. So you do know where that restaurant is, though.
I did.
Does it still exist?
Yes.
Oh, good. So we made progress. So there is a place.
And it's pretty good too.
Okay, I'm just saying there is a place in your general area that has this beverage that I'm considering making. No. Um, I don't know how you search for places farther away on this map they have. I just added a 20-mile radius. Still the same things coming up.
So what are the Casadora and what else?
Oh no, I found a few more. I went to a 28-mile radius. Casa Dora Italian Cafe, Black Sheep Restaurant, Bold City Brewery, Cafe Frida, Brooklyn Pizza on San Jose Boulevard, Casa Leon Mexican Restaurant, Brooklyn Pizza,
What was on San Jose?
Brooklyn Pizza. Apparently, there are several of those, and they apparently do provide this product. And then
Uh,
after that, you end up in St. Augustine.
let's see. I've got a Brooklyn Pizza. Not. Oh, what? On all, I see a Brooklyn Pizza on Old St. Augustine. I don't see one on San Jose.
It may have closed, but the one on Old St. Augustine Road also allegedly has this product.
I'm not familiar with it. Cool.
Well, we're still back to that. Apparently, they are not updating their store locator list. So it is always possible that
I've been to Brooklyn Pizzas before. I like them.
yeah, I'm just saying it is possible that they might be, that their list of places that actually are providers of this
Yep.
are wrong. By the way, I would like to comment that Brooklyn Pizza in Jacksonville, their URL is Real Brooklyn Pizza Jacksonville, or JAX. How can you have Real Brooklyn Pizza if you're not in Brooklyn?
Uh, FedEx.
Well, I assume they make it fresher, but again, I do not know whether or not they still provide this product. So you might want to call the store before you go there and ask them whether or not they carry this product, and you might drink it before I do. You never know. Anyway, if anybody has any thoughts about Boylan Diet Cane Cola beverage, please tell me. I get into weird things sometimes, don't I?
Yep.
I'm fine with that. How do you feel about being eccentric, Jerry?
I'm used to it.
Okay, me too. I just like making my own soda, and I like the idea of trying something new. Anyway, shall we adjourn until next Wednesday?
Let's do that.
Until then, when I will be doing something else somewhere else.
Until then, goodbye,
Goodbye, everyone.
folks.
Goodbye.